Recently I was blessed to sit down and have a conversation with Valerie Taylor, a marine expert and Australian icon. Valerie and her late husband Ron are former spearfishing champions turned marine conservationists. I hope you enjoy this great interview with an amazing woman. I wanted to ask you, how did you get into spearfishing initially?
My parents had a waterfront home on Port Hacking, and my father had a stomach ulcer, and he used to get upset when he ate meat. So my brother and I used to go down and spearfish for him. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into spearfishing. And one day a guy saw me spearing fish, and his name was Brian McKenna, and he said, "You're very good. We need a woman in our club who's good at spearing fish. Would you join our club?" It was in St George Spearfishing Club, and I joined it. That's where I met Ron.
Was it love at first sight?
Heck no, don't be ridiculous.
And how did it all develop? Was it...
He was always interested in photography, and he borrowed a Bolex, old Bolex 16mm from a friend.
Is that a camera, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
And he built a housing and himself, and asked me if I'd swim around in front of the camera.
So you were sort of his model.
Which I did. Well, and that was before wetsuits, so I was always in a bathing costume or bikini, and I had long blonde hair right to my waist, and I was slender and young.
You're so synonymous with the ocean and the sea. What do you feel your connection with the ocean is, and what does the ocean mean to you on a personal level?
Oh, it means a lot of things, really. I guess the greatest thing is that there is no gravity and I can fly. And I'm full of arthritis. I have trouble walking. I don't have any trouble flying. So I'm doing 4 dive trips in the next 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I'm going on vessels where I'm taken care of. They will dress me and undress me.
Yep.
So I don't have to use my poor old hands. And one side just slips through the surface of the water. There's no gravity, and I'm in another world. It is another world.
Yeah.
Well, it's not actually. It's this world. It's 72% of this world.
You and Ron were very into your spearfishing, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron was a Australian champion spearfisherman, and then I think he won the world championships in Tahiti in the mid-60s. Yes. Where did the point come where you went from spearfisher person to conservation person? What was the sort of the awakening?
We were at Australian Spearfishing Championships at Maroochydore, and we both won. Mm-hmm. I won the women's, he won the men's. We looked at all those dead fish. Ron said, "I'm not doing this anymore." I said, "I don't want to do it either." That was it.
And it was Ron that recognised the problem.
We both sort of recognised it. And we got in our car and drove back to Sydney.
Oh, wow. And that was it?
That was it.
And at what point did the conservation happen? Was it an overnight thing, or was it a gradual process?
It was. I was already into it at that stage. I was into the protection of the Australian sea line, mm-hmm. because we had a house. We used to go diving at Seal Rocks. We didn't have a house then, and the fishermen were killing the sea lions for craybait.
Oh, wow. Yeah, right.
Well, that's what fishermen do. They'll kill anything for craybait, and it's free. That's the problem with the ocean and the things in the ocean. They're free. When they bought stuff, I don't know what they did. Frankly, I don't know what fishermen did. There are no more sea lions at Seal Rocks. There used to be hundreds.
Wow, and you witnessed that, like you saw all of them up there.
That was the first time, and that was my very first conservation thing. The second one was having spearing fish using scuba band. Mm-hmm. Then having the grey nurse protected.
Okay.
And then having their habitat protected. Then having the cod hole, number 10 ribbon reef, Cormorant Pass protected, and went on from there. And I had a great deal to do with the white sharks being protected, and many other things, not on land as well, I guess, but mostly in the ocean. It's pretty easy to do. You get a good story, a really good story.
Did you get much opposition from fishermen?
Hell yes, always. Everybody was against me. Even the spear fishermen were against me. And but I knew what I was talking about. I'd been doing it. They couldn't take me on.
Yeah.
Both Ron and I had been top of the tree for a long time. And you just get a good story.
Mm.
You get good imagery. Ron always. You research it. You go on television with your good story. The opposition will always attack, and they will always lie. They never fail. They've never once failed me.
In terms of lying?
Lying. And when they lie, you got them.
Yes. What's that saying I like? When you tell the truth, you don't have to remember a thing.
Yeah.
Because you always know it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I never was nasty. But I was very sweet and extremely sarcastic. Oh, really? I thought you were a fisherman, and you say you went snorkeling at Bass Reef, and you went down 95 feet on snorkel, and you counted 75 grey-nosed sharks? Amazing. I congratulate you. No one else in the world has ever done that.
What did you think of people like Vic Hislop? Because he was always about killing the sharks, and he was always saying...
Oh, he lies all the time. He's easy. he's easy.
Yeah.
He doesn't... I don't think he opens his mouth ever and tells the truth.
Yeah, right.
So I can get him anytime.
What was your relationship like with Ben Crop? Because I read about that the other day, and I used to watch people like Malcolm Douglas, Ben Crop, yourself and Ron on, like World Around Us and things like that in the 80s. And how did you meet Ben Crop?
He used to spear fish for Ron on camera. Mm-hmm. That's how we met him.
Okay.
Last time I saw him was earlier this year, actually, on a boat.
Okay. Wow. And you and Ron are known for, you've done so many documentaries and provided footage for a lot of movies. One that interests me a lot is Jaws. And did you meet Steven Spielberg, or did you work directly with him? Yeah. Well,
we didn't work directly with him. We weren't allowed to work in America. Okay. The Teamsters Union wouldn't allow us. We shot all the live shark footage here, and they just sent over a production manager and a double. And it's a long story.
Yeah.
And then they took us to Martha's Vineyard. That's where we met all the people in the film.
Okay, the actors.
And Steve and, Ron already knew him because they'd been together in Hollywood in Los Angeles. And Richard Zanuck and David Brown, met all those people. And they liked us a lot because they'd sent the galley proofs of this book called Jaws, written by Peter Benchley, to Ron to read, and with a little letter saying, do you think this could be made into a movie?
Oh, wow. And that was before Steven Spielberg ever got a hold of it?
Well, that was before. They hadn't bought the right. They just wanted to know. The book wasn't out.
That's pretty cool if Peter Benchley was asking for Ron's opinion about it.
He wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't?
It was Richard Zanuck and David Brown. Peter Benchley knew nothing about it.
Oh, okay.
And then they bought the rights.
Right.
And we said we could do it.
So they wanted to know if you guys could provide the footage of white
sharks. Of a
shark.
live shark.
What do you think there's more white sharks these days?
There's always been white sharks out there.
What is more interaction with humans then?
There's just more humans out there.
Okay.
A lot less fish, I guess. The white sharks along here, for the most part, are small. Mm-hmm. The big females go north to pup. There's a very big one lives at the Pinnacles out from Foster. I've only ever seen it once. It was huge.
Oh, wow.
It just went past, took no notice at all.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were free diving?
No, we were on scuba.
Scuba.
Down about 60, 70 feet.
Yeah.
With a guy, we had an American with us called Stan Waterman. And we were filming Grey Nurse. And I noticed there was a sudden sort of scattering somehow, a feeling. And I just saw it coming like a locomotive.
Wow.
Just swam. I'm yelling, Stan, Stan. And it swam right behind him. Didn't even slow down or turn or look or anything.
Wasn't interested. You guys were among some of the first people to free dive, or not free dive, but dive outside of a cage with white sharks, I believe, with a couple
I don't know why they carry on about this. The first film Ron made on great white sharks, we didn't have a cage. We weren't diving outside the cage. He wasn't. He was hanging off the back of a tuna boat.
And just putting the camera into the water.
And his body, and he had his ankle tied to something. And when the shark came too close, he just pulled himself up on the tuna platform.
Huh. And was that with a couple of South African guys? I read somewhere.
No, that was later, much later. That was 15, 20 years later. Natal Sharks Board asked us to go over there and test a repeller and make a film about it.
Okay.
That was the start of the white shark tourism in South Africa, actually.
With the cage diving and things?
Well, we had cage diving here by then.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but their sharks are very easygoing, not like ours. We lost our cage the second day. It blew off in a storm. We shot the whole thing in the water with the sharks with no cage whatsoever.
What do you think there's a difference between the sharks in South Africa versus South Australia or Australia?
There's a difference between us Australians and the people from Iraq.
Yeah. But what, you think they're more
personality.
aggressive? You think they're more aggressive here?
They definitely are more aggressive here.
Wow.
Much, much more. In South Africa, we couldn't get them close enough. They never came closer than, say, 3 metres.
Mm-hmm.
And in Guadalupe, off Mexico, there's a lot of great whites. And they're just pussycats. You don't need a cage there.
Mm.
Well, the last time I was there, we just stood on top of the cage. They're swimming around. And it's beautiful because it's crystal clear water.
That's where that new big one's been seen called Deep Blue or something. It's about a 6 or 7 metre white shark. Yeah, there's one thing I was curious about. Do you have a favourite sea creature?
The Australian sea lion.
Without a doubt.
Must be everybody's favourite once they've met it.
Why is it appealing to you?
It's lovable. It's like a Labrador puppy. It will play with you. Kiss you on the nose, that's hard. Kiss you, that's awful because they've got hard whiskers. They're exceedingly endangered.
Yeah.
Once again, fishermen kill them out of hand. They're protected. They're just the most adorable marine animal you could ever meet. The only other marine animals I've befriended have been 2 different eels, 3 octopus, a caranx, a tawny shark, that's it. I'm talking about animals that I can go down and say hello and hug.
Yeah, I've seen the footage of you with that eel. I think it was from quite a few years ago.
Yes.
And it remembered you.
I always remember you.
Where was that?
Why do people think that marine animals don't have a brain?
Mm.
They remember just like a dog or a cat or another person. If the marine animals are no different to the land animals except they live underwater.
I saw some amazing footage the other night. I was on National Geographic of some guys in the Bahamas, some American gentlemen with a photographer. I had his name there, Eric Cheng. I'm not sure if you know of him.
Of course I know him.
Yeah, and it was narrated by Sigrid Thornton, and they go down and they know these tiger sharks.
Oh, I've been down with them. They're beautiful. They're lovely.
Wow, that is phenomenal. Like they're rubbing them under the chin.
Emma just loves a rub.
Emma, that's the name of one of the sharks.
Well, didn't they call her Emma?
Oh, I can't remember. There was quite a few of them, but
There was a lot of them. They come in, yeah. The Jimmy Abernethy would have been his sharks.
okay, yeah.
Eric, because Eric goes out with Jimmy a lot.
Yes, I think that rings a bell, yeah.
And this is off the Bahamas. See, the tiger sharks are hunted everywhere because people think they're great killers. They have a habit of investigating anything on the surface. And lacking hands, they investigate with their teeth.
Mm.
And when one comes up and investigates you with its teeth, you pull away and tear your flesh over its teeth. And you either bleed out or it bites your leg off or whatever. We had to do a film called The Island of Dr. Moreau. We were just doing the underwater segment. And we had a dummy and we had a lovely big tiger shark, and we wanted it to tear, the script called for it to tear the leg off the dummy, who was actually one of the people in the film.
Mm-hmm.
It refused. It only tore off the arm. Just 3 times we put food in the leg, nothing in the arm, would not tear off the leg. Every time I just get the arm and go, oh, great. So finally they just changed it and had it tear off the arm. And then they gave up and did a pretend tear off the leg. But it was, she was terrific. And when we released her, we used to tie her up by her tail at night. So she'd be there in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And released her, she was quite casual about it and just swam away slowly. We swam with her.
Wow.
Tiger sharks are big pussycats.
I'll take your word for
And
it.
they're big.
Yeah.
Well, you saw Eric and Jimmy
Yep.
with tiger sharks. Jimmy would have been filming, I think.
Okay, yeah. Eric was doing stills, I believe.
But Eric is still a photographer.
Mm.
And they're very... they're protected. They're a big tourist attraction in the Bahamas. We went there for the hammerheads. They have hammerheads, tigers, lots and lots of big lemons. And these are all potentially dangerous, although there is no recorded attack on a human by a hammerhead. Mm-hmm. I wrote a book called Great Shark Stories about different things, and one thing I couldn't find in any of the records at all was a definitely recorded attack by a hammerhead. Mm. The only record I could get, and of course it's very vague, was in the late 1800s in Kingston Harbour, and a hammerhead supposedly took a swimmer in a race. That's okay. What would they know back then?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing, I might add, just about every shark nowadays off our coast is a great white. I saw a photograph of one attacking a board, and its petrol fin was out of the water. A petrol fin of a great white is pure white, white as your shirt, with a little black tip.
The underside of the pectoral fin?
And the underside of the shark.
Yeah.
This was brown. Well, off-white. It wasn't white. It wasn't a white shark.
Yeah.
Another time, newspaper, the photograph, shark in shallow water off Bondi. They're bleating on about white shark, blah, blah. I looked at it. Any diver would have told you it wasn't a white shark. It was a thrasher. Mm-hmm. They're very obvious.
Mm, a huge tail.
Yeah, you can see the huge tail as long as a shark.
Yeah. Have you had any close calls or near-death experience?
Yeah, I guess so, yes.
Any that stand out?
Well, a whirlpool was the worst.
Whirlpool?
A whirlpool, yeah.
Like an actual whirlpool? What happened there?
I just got caught in it. I was in Lontar Rock, Sappi Strait, Indonesia. I wrote a story about it. It was in the Australian Geographic.
Wow.
It's very alarming when you're going down at great rate and all the bubbles that you've exhaled are going down with you, all faster than you.
Oh, wow.
Nothing going up.
Yeah, that'd be scary.
Can't swim.
And you're on tanks?
Yeah, can't swim. Yep, helpless.
So you just sort of surrendered to the ocean and rode it out? Or?
Oh, I kept thinking this isn't good. I got down 180 feet. See, I was working feet. You know why? Americans, still you're working feet.
Yeah.
And the good equipment comes from the States. It's all on feet.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I'm with Americans, and they're all talking feet. I was down 180 feet. That's what my thing told me. And it sort of slowed down. I could see the bottom, and it started to go up faster and faster, and that's very bad. When I was going down, I was grabbing hold of corals, and I'm just breaking off. Everything came down with me. And going up, I'm grabbing hold of corals, slow down, and everything's going up. And when we neared the surface, about 3 meters down, it slowed, and I thought, swim like mad. And I swam as hard as I could. And my legs were going like this. I couldn't, because the water's doing this and pushing my flippers like that. And I could see a hand through the surface. And I grabbed it, and it was my husband, and he pulled me out.
Wow.
I didn't have enough air to go down again.
Yeah, wow.
I would drown.
How long did that whole incident occur for?
It seemed like 3 or 4 hours. Probably just a few minutes.
Wow. That's scary, isn't it?
That was the only time I felt. I don't think I was even scared. My brain is too busy to be scared. I mean, if you pulled out a gun and said you're going to shoot me, I wouldn't be afraid. My first thought would be, how do I stop him? That would be it.
Yeah. How did because my brother and I were talking to you the other night briefly about the shark suit experiment with the old butcher's mesh. How did the chainmail? How did all that come about? Who sort of spawned the idea of that?
Ron. But actually, it wasn't. He didn't spawn it. It's medieval. You know, knights of old spawned it. It was the great protection until they invented the crossbow. Swords and arrows didn't go through it. The crossbow did. Mm-hmm. Then it went out of fashion. And Ron saw in 1965 a diver working on a wreck, and he had on butcher's boning gloves. And Ron talked about it, and it took a long time to find out where the material was made, and it was an Australian firm in Bacon Street, Plainsville, USA. And we got them to make the suit. And Ron had it made to him, his measurements. And of course he couldn't move. No stretch. I was thinking of a wetsuit, so I had to wear it. Because it was very big on me and I could move around in it. Yeah. And my husband was your size.
And I remember some of those reef sharks, you were testing the bite with them.
Well, the big tests were on open ocean sharks, the big sharks. But the reef sharks were easy because we knew where we could get them, we knew where they lived. They don't live on the Barrier Reef, there's not too many there anymore, but out in the Coral Sea there's a place where we knew we could get them. We can't get them there anymore either, but they've gone, been harvested for their fins. But those sharks, even 2 weeks apart, years apart, knew the sound of our tinny, our little boat, our little Evinrude. They'd start coming as soon as they could hear it. You'd see them coming across the sand. We had to work on sand so we get the reflected light, because you can't swim around with lights and cables with sharks. You've got to work reasonably shallow. So we used to put down a lot of bait. We'd go fishing first and catch tuna. Put down tuna, chopped up tuna. Wow. And that's why we did a lot of work with reef sharks, because they were very available there. And but the real test was the open ocean sharks.
Yeah, right.
They were in the film.
Yep. What you're known, some of your greatest achievements are through conservation. What are some, you mentioned earlier about the sea lions and the sharks and things like that. What are some of the other things you're really proud of, like marine sanctuaries and things like that?
Things like that, yeah.
Yeah, Osprey Reef is one you've been working with?
Oh, I didn't have to. A lot of people are working on Osprey. No, what I did do appear in a documentary, and I was diving there and talking how important it was. You know, it's not just Australia. One of the most amazing achievements I ever had was the Cocos Islands out of Costa Rica. That was really big, and I never dreamt it would be. But I just did something that no one else had done or thought to do.
And what happened with that? I'm not sure about. I know
You
about
wouldn't know, but nobody knows about it.
And what was it involved? What happened there?
Well, we were working Cocos, supposed to be protected. Incredible hammerheads, lots of sharks, and the fishing boats would come in at night loaded with shark fins. They just cut off their fins and dump them. Just keep the fins, dump the shark alive. Terrible to see a shark, no fins, no tail, terror in its eyes, trying to swim away from you and can't move, lying on the bottom. So I got one of the crew we were on a dive boat to row me over at night, at 11 o'clock at night, to one of the fishing boats, and I climbed on board, and I only had underwater cameras, and I had a big underwater flash, and I'm photographing hundreds and hundreds of fins in the rigging, drying, and as I was leaving, sneaking along, I tripped on a rope and dropped this heavy flash, and in a minute I was surrounded by fishermen.
Wow.
And I didn't expect a woman, especially a woman in pink. And I said, Australia, Australia, Australia. Jumped into the little dory, and the fella rode away like mad. And I knew what I was going to do. I felt sorry for those guys. And in those days you could buy scotch by the flagon. And I had a flagon of scotch. I rode back an hour later, just left it on the boat. I went back to because they all drink, they're all Catholics over there.
Yeah.
And I had it developed. I left the roll of film with the agent. I said, develop this, have copies made, and give it to national parks. And he did. That gave, and that my photograph, one of my photographs, was on the front page of the newspaper. Mm-hmm. They only had one. And they used that, I didn't know all this, to get a ranger station on the island. And another guy from Manly, he bought them a motor. They had a boat, but they had to row, paddle or whatever. He bought them a motor. And they could go out and arrest and fine any fisherman caught catching sharks, because for Costa Rica, Cocos diving is a huge income. The thing about a live shark like that, or a live school of sharks, maybe 200 or 300, is they will make money every day of the year, forever.
Through tourism.
Through tourism. Dead, they make money for a couple of guys once. That's it. So I didn't know all this at all, and some years later I was on a Russian boat in Vanuatu, and a Costa Rican guy was on board. He's paid to come like a diving tourist, and he sort of kept looking at me, and finally I said, you want to talk to me? His English wasn't 100%, but it was pretty good. He said, yes. He said, I came because of you. I said, you did? He said, yes. He said, I'm the head of national parks in Costa Rica, and I want to thank you. And then he told me the story.
It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought he might have been one of the guys that got the flagon of scotch.
I think he'd probably thank me too, but They would have just found it there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Oh, that's cool.
and then, of course, there was the cod hole at Cormorant Pass.
Yeah, describe the cod hole to me. I've heard about this place.
In 1969, on the island of Europa in the Indian Ocean, we were shooting a feature film called Blue Water, White Death, and we met some very, very big fish that we'd never seen before in our lives. None of us. And we were coming back after filming. They were amazing. They just loved us. They were like the Australian sea lion. You know, up, nuzzle, nuzzle, push, push. Playing around, you could scratch them, kick a left. And I'm talking as big as you. Weigh not as long, but would weigh more probably. Mm. On the way back to the terrier, we were living on a whale catcher called the Terrier 8. Stan Waterman, who was with us, said, "All that fish and no potatoes." And I said, "Oh yes, Stan, they're wearing their potatoes. They're the potato cod. They have these big potato shapes on them." Now you know an Australian named them because they're not cod, they're groper. We're the only country in the world that calls a groper a cod. There are no cod in the southern hemisphere at all. They're in the northern hemisphere. In cold water. They're a cold water northern hemisphere fish. They're all groper. For some reason, the blue groper that's around here is a wrasse. And the potato cod is an epinephrus. Well, that was pretty interesting. And then we went to Aldabra. We lived on this thing for 5 months. And we came into another group. And I realised then that they lived in family groups. They weren't anywhere else on the reef. They were just in this one spot. 1971, we were shooting a film for the Australian Conservation Foundation out of Lizard Island. There was nothing on Lizard Island in those days. We were in a tent and we got in our tinny and went out to the Ribbon Reefs and we went to Cormorant Pass and there we found the potato cod again. And we had a guy with us who probably speared one. We were horrified because they were like I am to you.
Big puppy dogs.
Puppy dogs. Pat. And there were 32, we counted them, 32 of them, family group. We knew all about them, but no, we knew nothing about them really. And the following year in our own boat, we were making a film called The Wreck of the Yongala on the Yongala. We could find it because we had side scanning sonar. And a game fisherman came and said, "They're killing your cod." I said, "Why?" He said, "Oh, well, there's no marlin this year, and, you know, they come out to catch a marlin. We can't get them a marlin, so we take them up to the cod hole and get a cod." Now, that was not the following year. It was about another 6 years later, because we kept it a secret for a long time. You can't keep it a secret forever. And so on our own boat, we turned around and went up north to number 10 Ribbon Reef, Cormorant Pass, and there was a big fat potato cod floating, dead. You can't eat them. Oh, you can, but they're not worthy. They're not nice. And went in the water. There were about half as many as there had been. So I decided to have them protected. I had to fight, first of all, the game fishermen. Then I had to find the sports fishermen. Well, they're both sort of the same, but two different societies. And then I had to fight the commercial fishermen. Then I had to fight Cairns Council. Then I had to fight Queensland National Parks, because no part of the Great Barrier Reef was protected. Then the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority wouldn't help me. By now I'm getting pretty upset, so I started ringing Canberra. Nobody was interested. And then I was ringing, I don't know, one of them. I just was ringing every minister for anything. You've got to get it tabled in Parliament. And I got this guy's secretary, and she said, Mrs. Taylor, you're very upset. What's the problem? And I told her the whole sad story about getting Bjorky Peterson's phone number and ringing him in the middle of the night.
Good on you.
Calling him a bastard.
This was Sir Joe Bjorky Peterson.
Yes. And she said, I'll find you a champion. At 8:30 that night, the phone rang, and I promised never to use his name. He told me I must never use his name.
Fair enough.
He was the member for Michel. He said, I'll table this in Parliament. I'm your champion. And he did. So that meant they had to discuss it. And that president of the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority came to our house. We lived in Roseville then, and said, you've created quite a stir, because I was going on television every chance I got, playing with these big fish, saying that they don't belong to the fishermen to kill for a few moments of sadistic pleasure. They don't belong to the government to allow this to happen. They belong to the ocean. They belong to everybody equally. Mm. They belong there. Wouldn't you like your child, speaking to the people of Australia, to be able to go and see a wonderful, big, friendly fish, if you wanted to? I've always wanted to see a tiger in the wild. I'll never be able to get to tiger tops, but I know if I did, I can, if I wanted to.
Yeah.
I could see a tiger. And my favourite big cat. And so I did this. Willisy was great. Quite a lot of radio talks. Imagery was good. My husband, cinematographer, very good. And we made little shorts to go on television. Good Morning Australia was fantastic. And it became a big thing. Bjorky and the Queensland National Parks got into the act and said, it's in Ernie Grant's fish book. And I knew it wasn't. I said, and then the fishermen attacked. Doesn't matter where we drop our anchor on the barrier reef, these fish come around. They're there all the time. They're everywhere. I said, no, I didn't have money at all. I said, I will give $10,000 to any fisherman who can drop his anchor on the barrier reef other than the cod hole and have one of those fish come up. Nobody took me on. To this day, you can't do it anywhere else on the barrier reef, only there. You can do it at one place in the Coral Sea. And you can do it at two places off the west coast. Anyway, the Bulletin, there used to be a magazine, something like, it was called the Bulletin, came out, and it was the cover story. It was a news magazine. Then the Reader's Digest picked it up and wrote a story. Then Prince Bernard read the story in the Reader's Digest. He had his people go to the archives and check up on what I'd been doing. Mm-hmm. Then the Dutch royal family wanted to fly Ron and I over to Holland. Ron wouldn't go. I went.
Wow. And
we had it was a big banquet, banquet, and I was knighted, along with David McTaggart, who was the founder of Greenpeace.
Okay.
We were both given a title, and my title is I'm a Knight of the Order of the Golden Ark.
Wow.
And the only person who's ever recognised it was Prince Charles at a luncheon at Government House.
Wow.
And you know how he shakes your hand as you're going? He said, oh, Mrs. Taylor, I congratulate you. He said, Knight of the Order of the Golden Ark. And just a few weeks ago, I was sitting next to Dr. Frank Talbot at a dinner, a Simmers dinner, and I don't know, I was talking to Frank. I've known him forever. And I said, oh, he asked me, what did I do? I told him about it, and he said, you know, you're the only person in Australia to have that. I said, no, that can't be right. He said, they hand out knighthoods in England like lollies, and he said it's very hard to get a knighthood, a Dutch knighthood, especially a title. So, up on the wall in there, got my medal.
That's
and
fantastic.
It was all because of the potato cod, which isn't a cod, which is a groper, whose correct name is Ephenephilus tecula.
And you coined the term, the potato cod.
Yes, on camera.
Wow.
That's how you know an Australian named it, and that was in the Indian Ocean.
Oh, that's classic, isn't it? That's a really cool story.
I knew it was a groper, but because we call cod here, the groper's cod, and the blue wrasse, a groper, we're just a mess. That's why it's best to use a scientific name if you're talking to people in other countries who know their fish.
Yeah.
I don't know many fish, but I know a few names.
You, if you had your time over again, would you change anything? Would you do anything differently?
Yes, but nothing to do with the ocean. I learnt about fish by spearing fish. When we first went out as spearos, my brother and I, there were so many fish in very shallow water. You never thought you could make a dent in them. There were fish everywhere. You could choose the species you wanted to eat that night. And in 10 years we've made such a dent. It was a huge hole. Mm. No child born today, and I include you, will ever know how nature made the marine world of our coast, how rich it was. We only know what man has done to it.
That's quite sad, isn't it?
I've had my day. And you won't, a kid today won't know any different. Will never know any different.
Because it would have not have been anywhere near the extent of overfishing back in the 60s and 70s.
Well, I think World War II slowed it right down. And besides, our population was only a couple of million or something, wasn't it? You see, you can check it up. Our population might have been 4 million or 4.5 million people, or over. We're not going to make much of a dent now. We're, 20-something million, and everybody and their dog fishes, and the government brought all these people into the country, or didn't bring them, they came, actually, from Vietnam, and they gave them all fishing license to give them something to do.
Tell me, I've discovered this at the Save Our Sanctuaries night there, and I didn't realise you were so into your artwork.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of your pieces there, and you obviously do a lot of marine life. And has that always been something in you, the artistic?
Well, that's how I made a living before I became a diver and professional.
Really? What were you doing there for a living?
Right, drawing comic strips.
Really?
Yes. For
newspaper or comic books?
Well, in the days of Menzies, he had a thing. He was our Prime Minister. If anything could be done in Australia, built, made or grown, we weren't allowed to import it.
Okay.
And the comic strips could be done here, so that they'd come in from America, and we'd copy them, and it'd make them Australian. That's all. And that's what I do.
Wow.
And I also television came, and there was a place called Art Transa, where that was our big sound studio. We don't have it anymore. And the company I worked for wanted to get into animation, and I said I know how to do animation. I spent 6 months as an animator, and in those days it was all done on cells. Computers hadn't been invented. And I started doing that, and I was delivering the cells to Art Transa for a commercial. And I'm sitting there with the cells. There's about several hundred of them like this. And this beautiful man came along, and he said, "Are you in today's episode of Whiplash?" I said, "No." I thought, God, how do I get whiplash? And it was Peter Graves.
Right.
And young Peter Graves. And Whiplash was Australia's first television series ever. I think it was all in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Next week I was in Whiplash. I went home. I went to the casting director and she said, "Bring me your resume." I went home and made up a resume, invented it. I hadn't even seen a play. I was not an actress. Next week I was in Whiplash.
Wow. What was your part in that?
Stunt girl.
Did you have to do any stunts?
Yeah. I had to ride a horse, having no idea how to ride a horse. I just got on it and it galloped. It was quite easy. I had to paddle a canoe over a waterfall. That wasn't too difficult. The waterfall did all the work.
Yeah.
A few things. I did. I was a double for the lead actress.
Okay.
I had my hair dyed bright red. It was hard to dye because I was a natural blonde and it went orange. And her name was Annette Andre. I don't know what happened to her. And then I went on the stage. The series was finished, the filming. And they were on the big board at Art Transit. They wanted people to read for a play called The 7-Year Itch. And everybody, all the women were going to read for it, so I went and read for it and I got the part. And so I was on the stage for 9 months. That made me realise I didn't want to be an actress. It was just too restricting. So then I decided to be a model. I just went on and on. Young girls today say, how do we get started? And it always astounds me. You just do it.
That's good advice.
Just go and do it. I never had any problem doing anything I wanted, ever. Well, might have had a bit of a problem sometimes, but it's just go and do it.
Now, just a couple more questions. Do you have a favourite dive site? Like if you could go to one place in the world or Australia, anywhere that you just absolutely love. I mean, you've mentioned a few places like the Cod Hole and that. Is there one that really stands out?
South Pass, Whakarava Lagoon, Tuamotu's French Polynesia.
Aha. Why?
The lagoon is, I believe, 300 kilometres long, has only 2 entrances. The South Pass, you drop into the water in the ocean. There's only 2. The tide comes out like a waterfall. It goes in like a river. And it's full of all the things going in to feed in the lagoon. Thousands of sharks, manta rays, all fish, great schools of fish. The water you can see forever, so clear. All you've got to do is be careful not to get swept into the lagoon. It's the most exciting dive you can ever do.
Wow.
It's even exciting just dropping into the open ocean, and on 2 occasions I've had dolphins swim with me. There's nothing to see. You know you're moving very fast. You can see that you're going like the wind.
It's deep water, is it?
You go down 60 feet and you're going and you look ahead and then you start to see something ahead and then you see it's a reef. You look around for all your friends. Sometimes you get a bit swept apart and you all try and get together on the reef. Then you go down and you look for somewhere where you can jam yourself into a cave or between some coral. You can hook in somewhere and just watch it, film it going past. It's incredible. But once you let go, you're gone. You can't hook in it. You're really moving. It doesn't mean anything. You've got to swim to the right. Swim as hard as you can to the right. Get into a shallow water, get into a little lagoon area on the right-hand side, no current, get out. It's fantastic. The guy that bought the motor for the people on Cocos to put on their boat. He used to charter a Russian icebreaker because they didn't have much to do with they have 3 months the Arctic, 3 months Antarctic. There's 6 months where they don't have a lot to do. 3 months in dry dock and 3 months he'd charter it, and we were planning what we were going to do on our 3 months, and I talked him into going back to the Tomatoes. I'd been there once. It was Peter Benchley, actually. And it was a great trip. It was a fantastic trip. I knew it was good from going there with Peter, but we were only there for a few days. I just wanted to go, because you can't see everything in a few days. There's other passes. Everything was incredible.
Did you have any inspirations growing up, people you looked up to?
Yep, Tarzan, that was it.
Tarzan?
I wanted to be Jane.
I think you've become Jane of the Ocean.
No, I don't know about that.
Well, I think so, definitely.
If I had a good education, if I had the knowledge that I had even when I was 30, I'd have possibly been different. But I didn't have a very good education, and I left school on my 15th birthday and I had to get a job. Had to work. I got sacked from my first 3 jobs. Well, I was hopeless. I was working in a department store in Petone called Mackenzie's, and I was so bad with the money. Then I got a job at selling tickets for a Ferris wheel in a carnival, and I was so bad with the money. Then I got a job on a nursery, pricking out little plants. Mine, for some reason, would always die. So I got sacked from that. Then I got a job as an animator. I was in New Zealand at the time. I'm not a New Zealander, I am an Australian. And that's where I learnt the animation at the New Zealand Film Unit.
Okay.
I didn't get sacked from that.
So you weren't as bad as...
Well,
you were pretty good with that.
I had one talent, and it certainly wasn't academic. I could draw.
In that sort of vein of asking you about mentors, you're whether you like it or not, you are an iconic Australian, and I look up to you, and I think a lot of not only men but particularly women, young women, look up to you.
I know, and it's embarrassing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be embarrassed. I'd be quite chuffed. I think you're pretty awesome, and
I'm not chuffed.
And how important do you think good mentors are with the right message?
Well, Tarzan gave me the right message. Be kind to animals, and if you want to swing around from the trees or get to know a wild animal, you can. I got a message of some sort, I guess. I loved reading books like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn and all those good old classics. I read those in hospital. I had infantile paralysis and I was on my back for 9 weeks. Couldn't do anything. I couldn't even read at the beginning because I couldn't hold a book. They got me a form that would hold the book eventually. Mentor. Hans Hass.
Sorry?
Hans Hass.
Hans Hass. Who is that?
Shame on you. He was an Austrian. He was well before Cousteau.
Right. Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah.
Yes.
He made the first ever underwater films. Scuba hadn't been invented. He used rebreathers. Very dangerous, indeed. Or he just held his breath. fins. They hadn't invented them.
Hmm.
He built he was a marine biologist. He built a little housing for a camera, underwater camera, and he shot the very first underwater movies we ever saw.
Wow.
And his name was Hans Hass.
Hmm.
And he married Lottie. And he had the beautiful girl. Lottie was very beautiful. Hans was my hero.
Hmm.
I wanted to be Lottie, I guess. I was. I was Ron's Lottie.
Yeah.
Now you've got to go and look up Hans Hass.
I know. Oh, I'm going to get educated about that. How big an influence was Jacques Cousteau to you? Because to me he
None
was...
whatsoever.
None?
Nothing.
Why so?
He had a beautiful boat called the Calypso.
Hmm.
He also had one called the Alcyon. I went on the Alcyon. While I was on the Alcyon, one of the crew said, "Oh, John Michel's much better than Captain Jack." I said, "Oh, why?" I'm to a Frenchman who speaks English. They all speak English. Well, he comes with us. What the story was, I never did like him that much because he would take other people's discoveries and claim them for himself.
This was Jacques.
Yeah, Jacques. Yeah, I knew that from complaints that I got from other divers, especially in the States. Especially people who'd really done something, but it was never on film.
Mm.
But divers know divers. And apparently he didn't live on the Calypso at all. He had this whole big crew, this big boat, and it'd go around and he'd find nice things. They would film them. Let's say octopus meeting, they'd film them. Captain Jack would come in for a couple of days. He'd go down, he'd do swim-throughs, but to right, point, that way, all cutaways. So just be cut into it. Occasionally you'd see him with an animal, but that was by sheer luck. That's what they told me.
Mm.
I'm not speaking from experience.
Hmm.
He was a very good showman. He knew how to, he got his little red hat and his pipe or whatever and his pom-pom. So I got 2 red ribbons and a pink wetsuit. When they came out eventually. But I didn't admire him so much, but I very, very much admired his son, Jean-Michel Cousteau.
Okay.
He was there. He was a hands-on man. And he was a damn good diver. And he was a marine engineer. And a great conservationist. He's worked in it all his life. He's a spectacular human being. We just need more like him.
That's great.
Mm.
What final message would you leave to people regarding our oceans?
Leave them alone. Let them heal. But nobody will. That's the problem. It's free for the taking. Nobody has to clear their fields, plant their crop. Do it again next year. Make sure it's fertilised so it happens again next year. Same with cattle. You've got to make sure your cattle have babies so you've got cattle next year. Nobody worries about the ocean. They don't worry about whether they target breeding aggregations constantly. Possibly the worst thing that's happening right now is the harvesting of krill.
Okay.
They harvest the breeding aggregations. The Russians have been doing it for about 15 years. The Chinese have started, and I think the Chileans also. You can't. They're little shrimp, about the size. I've seen them in Antarctica. And they use it for pig food and chicken food and things like that. Every animal and bird in Antarctica directly or indirectly relies on krill for survival. Everyone, every single one.
Whether it's a land animal or an oceanic animal.
They all rely on krill. I mean, the leopard seal eats penguins who rely on krill. It takes a krill, I only know this from computer because I've never observed it, 7 years from egg to shrimp.
Wow.
They live in very, very deep water, 2 degrees. They wait 7 years for the egg to develop into a shrimp. Don't believe them for a second. Anyhow, you're saving the whale, but it's like saving the tiger and not saving the jungle that supports it. I think the krill harvesting is going to have a devastating effect. It's a shame. It's a crime. Nothing stopped it. It's criminal. But we're doing it to ourselves. They call it progress. It's not progress to destroy the planet that supports you. We've pretty much destroyed it. It's in another 50 years, unless there's a plague or a war where we kill each other off, we won't be able to survive on this planet. The next big war will probably be over water.
Oh, as in drinkable water?
Drinkable water.
That's scary.
I've just been in the Baltic, and they told me 1/4 of it is totally dead. Nothing alive at all. Pollution from the Volga. Imagine what's happening to the Volga in Russia to kill 1/4 of the Baltic. Villages that used to have 20 fishing villages, 20 fishing boats, lucky if they have one. They're looking forward to global warming. They don't know what's happened because nothing's got warmer there. Because traditionally, years and years ago, hundreds of years ago, their ancestors could get 2 crops of grass in a summer. Now they can only get 1. When they got 2 crops of grass, this is from a farmer, they could have more cattle. Because this is something I never thought about. Why would you think about it? I'm an Australian. All their farm animals have to be put in barns for winter. They can't. They freeze if they're outside. It all freezes over. And so they have to have hay, or they called it grass, to feed them. It's not like our hay, which grows about that high. The grass is about this high that they were harvesting when I was there. And if they can get 2 crops of grass instead of just 1, goes back to how it was, they will be able to have more cattle. In Greenland, they said they'll be able to, if it gets warmer, Greenland will be green again. That's why it was called Greenland. And they'll be able to grow, what do you say, barley, sorghum. They'll have a lot of sheep and some cattle. That's their that was their tradition. Still cold in the winter. They still have to put them in barns, but they can have more because they can grow more food for them. I never crossed my mind such a thing until I was there, and on 2 occasions I did 14 days. And we only went to medieval towns and villages, nowhere else, and a couple of farms. And it was a barbecue on a farm. When I was talking to the farmer and his wife, that they told me all this.
Did you ever dive with crocodiles or alligators or anything like that?
No, we've tried to find them, but we just never lucked out. We swum all over the blue water mangroves in Raja Ampat, dragging fish and things. Not a crocodile to be seen. We get on the boat and go away, and the next person along gets taken. It's unfair.
It's probably from you guys dragging all the fish.
No,
I'm joking.
He was in a different part of the blue water mangroves, actually. But it was interesting.
Valerie, thank you so much. I'll leave it there, and I appreciate your time so much. As I said, look, whether you like it or not, you are a very amazing
I don't
person.
just like it. I just... this is a terrible thing to say. I suppose it does mean a lot to me. But I don't think about it. You can look at me right now. You know, I'm not sitting here like the Queen, am I?
No, but that's good. You're humble, and but I think one thing that's really awesome is you stood for something, and the thing you stood for, it carries so much.
I'm still standing for it. The last time I did it, I sat for it.
But no, I think it's... And look, just before I finish up, I just wanted to give you a little gift. It's nothing much, but it's just a thank you for doing this today. So I got some flowers for you
take
here.
them and give them to your wife.
No.
I'm going away.
I know, but they'll last for a few days, so at least you have something nice to look at. And thank you.
I've had the best life of anybody I know. How can I be that unreal to have such a great life? Such a great time.
Yeah.
Did so many things where we were the absolute first to ever go there, ever see it, ever do it. And you know, at the time, you know you're the first, but you don't think about it much.
Yeah. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's a shame. I mean, like I've grown up here in Sydney Harbour at Balgowlah Heights at Dobroyd Head, and you know, born and bred here, and growing up in the harbour. I mean, I never saw anything like you did, but I mean, I understand the importance and the value of marine parks, marine sanctuaries, and things like that. And I think you're such a...
That's the only hope we have. And what I find tragic in a way is that people are still trying to get marine parks. The government, pushed by the fishing lobby, wants them all taken away. The fishing lobby and the sports fishing and the spearfishing association have joined forces to try and have them removed so they can go in and kill everything. You know why they want to do that? Because they've killed everything outside. Outside the marine park, it's the only place left to go.
Wow.
Then they kill all that, and then they might play chess, I don't know. Do something different.
Yeah.
Shoot wild birds. Or
Do you think it's sustainable like forestry is? Like, you know, the people that log the forest, say in Tasmania, they're like, no, we need it, we can farm it correctly. Do you think they can in the ocean?
You know damn well they can't.
I just thought I'd ask you.
No, of course they can't.
Yeah.
It's an impossibility.
Yeah.
Nature got it right and we're wrecking it, that's all. And in the ocean there was a web of life that worked, and we've taken great hunks out of it, and now it's not working so well. And you can't do much about it. I don't know why there are more shark attacks. I definitely know there's a lot more people in the water than there ever used to be.
Could it be a combination of more people in the water, overfishing closer to the coastline?
Exactly. Netting the big schools of fish that swim up the coast, the big breeding aggregations, they net them. I was paid to work as an advisor to the Minister for Fisheries in New South Wales. That was Eddie O'Bead. And only one thing ever he listened to. But he liked to say, the marine world off the coast of New South Wales is fine. Valerie Taylor is my advisor on marine conservation. But he never took any advice. They believe in it, but they don't know exactly what to do to make it happen.
How would you advise a young 15 or 20-year-old or anybody to get behind something like you do?
I can't advise them.
Just do it.
Just do it.